Good morning and welcome to the Coastal Business Channel. Today we're going to discuss real estate wholesaling as a strategy. So how can you make money at real estate and specifically real estate wholesaling? Now there have been times in the real estate market where people literally bought a property, held on to it for a month and then sold it. I mean, if you think pre-2008 when the mortgage crises kind of burst, you did have a period of time of literally people just buying a property and 2 weeks later selling it. That doesn't happen anymore. We did have a little bit of that in 2000 and 2001 going into 2002 when the market was really hot, especially when people were fleeing big cities because of COVID. You did have the opportunity for someone to buy a property, hold it for a little bit, and sell it for a higher price. But here's what a wholesaler, what the process is and what a wholesaler does. So a wholesaler is trying to find a property that's undervalued. So why is it undervalued? Is it run down? Is it in a bad neighborhood? Do you have people that are desperate to sell that they're willing to low price? We did that when we bought this current house. We wanted to sell our other house very quickly so we could buy this one. So we did. We lowballed. We put a price in lower than what we wanted, got a couple of offers, and were able to sell pretty quickly. So that is something you want to look to do. Are they desperate to sell? You know, is it a rundown? What's run down? What is it that we need to do? When we bought this house, the basement was like covered in mold, but we realized, my husband and father realized that the gutters were totally were clogged. There were actually trees growing in them because this house was rented out for 5 years, and the people that rented it could care less about the gutters, could care less that there was water streaming down the basement. Nobody wanted to buy this house. It had mold in it. But thankfully, my father and my husband are pretty well informed with mold and realized it wasn't like that really scary kind of black mold. And my husband just like washed the walls with bleach, and we got some filters in, and we've been here almost 6 years now, and we've never had an issue with water in this house, and we've never had an issue with mold. But thankfully it did take, and we got a really nice discount for this house too because of the mold. But thankfully my husband and father were knowledgeable about that and knowledgeable how to fix it. So we got a really nice deal. But so you do want to see what is wrong with the house. Can I fix it easily? How much is it going to cost to fix it? And then when I go to sell it with all these new improvements, am I going to get more than the time and effort and expense to make these fixes and upgrades? Number 3, when a wholesaler finds a buyer, often it's another investor. So when the wholesaler finds a buyer, you have to look at that other buyer as an investor. You're either an investor because you want to flip that house or property, or you're an investor because you want to live there and you're investing your life savings into these houses. So they're going to go ahead and they're going to negotiate a price. And when the wholesaler signs a purchase agreement to the end buyer then takes the contract to buy the property. The wholesaler actually does not buy the property. So the wholesaler is going to find the property, locate the property they want, locate what they want to do. They're going to find a buyer who's going to buy the property. So you have the end buyer, the wholesaler in the middle, and the end buyer. That wholesaler never purchases the property. They negotiate a price, and then they go and they find a buyer for that property with the idea that they're going to be making all of these improvements. So it's almost like the end buyer is buying the property, but the wholesaler's in the middle because they're not buying the property as is, they're buying the property from the wholesaler after all these improvements are made. The end buyer closes on the property, takes ownership of the property, and the wholesaler collects the difference between what the end buyer is paying and what the seller agreed to is selling the property. So the original seller agrees to a purchase price to buy the property from the wholesaler. The wholesaler negotiates a purchase price from the end buyer. And in the middle, the difference between those two numbers is what the wholesaler is collecting. Real estate wholesaling is a very popular strategy among real estate investors because it allows the wholesaler to make a profit really without any risk, right? So, and they don't have to invest a lot of money. Real estate wholesaling is a very popular strategy but it requires knowledge on the local real estate market, good negotiation skills, and the ability to identify properties that they're likely to be profitable. The nice thing is that what's costing a wholesaler the most is time. You have to research properties, then you have to negotiate the sale, and then you have to find a buyer when you're never taking ownership. So you can't, as a wholesaler, list a property up on MLS because you're actually not the owner and you don't have ownership. So you have to be able to be really knowledgeable, have good contacts in the real estate market with agents that can kind of locate and help you make these deals. So in a nutshell, that is real estate wholesaling. Hope you enjoyed the video.